The 2015 Australian Open concluded in Sydney recently. I asked a few of the players what attracted them to the tournament, and then asked Australian Grandmaster David Smerdon to show us his round 8 game against IM James Morris.
Really, I did not intend to continue my chess career as a player. I turned to coaching completely, and I have many good students in Russia and all over the world. But your kind invitation changed something.
There's not that many federated tournaments in Australia, so this is one of the few, and it's got some really strong players playing in it. So yeah, it's really exciting to come and play.
Yeah, I'm going to see zoo. Because
the Taronga Zoo, very famous, very
because
famous
we
zoo.
came with our son, he's 7 years old, and he wants to see kangaroo.
Okay.
He came with this idea.
Some friends of mine from Brazil, they play chess, so they advised me to play this one. They show me the instruction and everything. I say, no, this one I can't miss it.
Okay,
I had to go,
That's great. Australian Grandmaster David Smerdon had an exciting encounter with GM Norm aspirant James Morris in round 8. David Smerdon shows us that game, which ended in a draw. I'm with Grandmaster David Smerdon. Dave, the tournament perhaps didn't go quite as well as you would have liked.
Not quite.
But you had a fascinating game against James Morris, also an Australian player. Who was perhaps in contention for the GM Norm. Amazing game involving some piece sacrifices. Wondering if you can just run us through the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, about the tournament itself, I think I'll finish okay thanks to a win in the last round. But I think it's actually going to turn out that I'll be the only other undefeated person besides Iulija, which is nice.
Yeah.
But I had 7 draws.
Okay.
That's quite a lot and this was probably one of the most exciting draws.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you play James, you never really know what to expect. He plays so many openings.
Right.
Generally, the best thing to do is just to play the main lines because he likes to mess things up a bit. So play the principled way and see what happens. So when the French came out, he's played that against me in the past. I decided to play knight c3, which is the absolute sort of main line.
Yep.
And I noticed that in the Steinitz variation, he plays a slightly dubious system. So the main line goes bishop e3, and now a6 is not the main move, but it's still okay.
Okay, so I might just read through the moves here.
Yeah, so this is pretty much like the start of the game here.
Yep.
Move 9, where I'm playing d takes c5.
Okay, so after d takes c5.
And this is the recommendation in Parmesan Negi's book. As Grandmaster from India, he's about the #3 player in India. Okay. He recommends this, and I even spoke to him and did a review about his book. So had some inside knowledge.
Info.
and here I saw that James has played knight takes c5 before, which is not a good move. He played it against Molson, actually. And he ended up winning the game, but he was totally busted. So I was hoping for a repeat performance, but
he's said bishop takes c5.
He's learnt the main line now, which is good for him. And now I played what's a very strong move, bishop d3. Not my own invention. It was actually played by Sergei Karyakin, a grandmaster from Russia, top 10 in the world. And the idea is that it looks like d4 wins a piece in this position. But actually you can play knight takes d4. And after knight takes d4, you play knight e4. So it's sort of a temporary piece sack, but you're going to get it back with a better position after a few more tactics.
You can't retreat the bishop along the diagonal towards a7?
You can, but then knight d6 check is going to follow, and then followed by bishop e4, and the rook's going to be on, and the knight's going to be on, and the king's going to be on e7. So you win back a piece with interest, basically.
Okay, so returning back to the position with, after bishop d3, play instead continued.
Yeah, so he thought for a long time, because obviously d4 looks very tempting, but then he worked out the calculations and played the best move, queen b6. And now bishop f2. And the idea for white is simple. You're going to castle kingside and launch a pretty deadly attack on black's kingside. Around here, he played the move f6, which is very standard in the French, but it's not in Negi's book. So here I was on my own for the first time. And probably like the best move if you're playing a French position like this is just to play e takes f6. And the idea is to play in the dark squares against the e6 and d5 pawn. But I saw
going back,
I saw a very interesting idea, and so instead I played rook a e1, which is the natural way to prepare the position. And then after he took on e5, I thought for a very long time, probably I should just play f takes e5 back. And then rook takes f3 is this exchange sacrifice that he can try. But I didn't think that he had enough. He's sacrificed a rook for a knight and a pawn, but I thought that I should be probably better.
And he doesn't even have to play the immediate rook takes f3 either, of course.
He can develop his bishop on c8 first. But I got incredibly tempted by bishop takes h7 check, and I decided, well, today's going to be the day. You know?
Well, you did say in our first interview that you were going to try and go pretty crazy and all out in your later games. So here we go.
Look at my last 3 games; they were all ridiculously crazy games. So I lived up to my word. Now, king takes h7 is what I spend most of my time on. But after knight g5 check, king g8, knight takes e6. I won't go through the variations, but I've won a pawn for the piece. I'm probably going to win the d5 pawn. It's likely I'm going to take the rook for a minor piece, and I think that white has a strong attack. I mean, black's defenses have just been busted open.
Yeah. So you'll get a second pawn and at least have an attack at least the initiative for that,
and probably win the exchange as well. So I'll probably end up with a rook and 2 pawns versus 2 minor pieces.
Right.
Which is sort of
roughly quality. Plus you've still got the initiative.
Yeah. But James played the best move by far, king h8, which looks a bit strange to play that. But the idea is that I don't have a good waiting move, if you will, because in pretty much every line where I play a normal move now, he takes my bishop on h7 and he's got a better version.
Okay.
So I played knight g5.
Yes.
And he played knight f6, hitting my bishop on h7. Yep. If I move it, then he's just going to maybe take my pawn on f4 or start rolling me in the middle, or he might even think about playing knight g4 and hitting my bishop on f2. So here I went into a deep think, and I played what's not the best move, but a second best move, so it's not bad. Queen d1.
You're right.
With the sneaky idea that if he plays knight takes h7, then I'm just playing queen h5 and mating him that way. So the bishop's still sort of indirectly defended.
Correct.
But he played the best move, bishop takes f2, and then after rook takes f2, he's got a very annoying pin on my rook on f2, which can't move.
Yeah.
And now he played what looked like a really strong move. Both of us thought it was almost winning, just setting up this huge pawn phalanx in the center of the board. And now I played bishop g6, and he played king g8, and then I saw the idea. I would just call it the idea. But I could have played it in this position, and it's almost crushing.
I understand that it's a lot stronger for you to have played your piece sacrifice here.
We'll have a look. So knight c takes e4, d takes e4, bishop takes e4. He can't take it with the knight because of queen h5 check. Right. I'm threatening very simply to play queen f3 and then queen to h3, checkmating him. And if he plays something like rook a7 to defend, I play queen d6, hitting the rook on f8 and also the knight on c6. So if you think about that position, then you have a look what happens in the actual game.
So returning back to the game after e4.
So I played the very cowardly bishop g6. He played the very strong king g8, getting his king out of all the problems. And now I realise that if I don't sacrifice a piece, I'm just completely lost. But the difference is...
So inspired by force.
Exactly. But the thing is, here in this position, his king's obviously a lot better on g8. And if he plays, for example, rook a7, then I can't play queen d6 anymore.
Because the rook on f8 is defended this time.
So I can just play bishop d7. So here I have to play queen f3. But it's a bit too slow now. He just plays knight e7, and I don't have queen h3 with check anymore. And if I do play queen h3, he can just play knight f5.
So at this point, you must have been concerned that maybe he's just going to wangle out of the complications, and you'll be struggling.
And so while he was thinking on the position after bishop takes e4, I was shaking my head like crazy because I'd found the idea, but in this position, I'm still lost, and if I'd done it the move before, I was winning. So I was kicking myself something chronic. But fortunately, something happened which often happens when I play James, which is that he goes for the beautiful win rather than just the prosaic win. And that's the way that I usually slime my way out of my game with him. So he played a really beautiful idea. He played rook d8, right. Queen d3 and rook d2. And the idea is that if I play, for example, bishop takes c6, then he'll just play rook takes f2, and everything's falling apart for me. But he missed, well, I'm pretty much forced to play rook ef1 here. And now he came up with a fantastic idea, but it just doesn't
quite
work. Knight d4. And his idea was that after bishop h7 check, knight takes h7, if I play queen takes a8,
yes,
he plays the beautiful knight e2 check, It's pinned, so I have to play king h1. Queen takes f2. And after queen takes...
Because you can't take the queen, of course.
Yeah, so after queen takes c8, knight f8, if I take the queen, there's rook d1 mate.
Yep.
And any other move loses, for example, if my rook, he just plays knight g3 check and queen takes g2 mate. It's a really beautiful idea. But the problem for him is that I don't take the rook, I just play queen h5, and even though I'm 2 pieces behind, I've just got enough time to force a perpetual check.
Right.
So this is how the game finished.
And you're threatening to take on h7, so he's pretty much forced to play knight takes g5.
Forced to play knight takes g5, and here he offered me a draw because I can just, even though in the current position I'm 3 pieces down, I can
force
slide
repetition.
my way out. Yeah.
So a draw by repetition, with the final position being after knight takes g5 with queen e8 check coming. Well done. Thank you very much for playing through the game with us and for the interview. Grandmaster David Smerdon. I'm with Women's Grandmaster Julia Ryjanova, who has just won the Australian Open Women's Prize. Well done. You've scored, was it 7.5 out of 11?
Yes.
That's a fantastic score. And you had some excellent games. So you're very pleased with the result?
Yeah, I'm happy with this result. I didn't expect even this much of myself, but
yeah, you
did well.
You explained that you felt that you were a bit rusty because you've been more involved with coaching before, and it's been difficult to...
Yeah, I took a long break in playing. Serious playing, I mean.
Yeah. So it's been difficult to come back to playing, but your results have been great.
It would be difficult, but it was not so much difficult. I didn't feel it like it was a break of 10 years.
Yeah.
It's okay, like some break, but
okay.
it doesn't feel like this big break.
That's great. Now I wanted to also ask, you will be playing in the Australian Women's Masters next week. This must make you feel very positive and confident about your tournament next week in Melbourne.
Yeah, now I feel better. When I just came and started to play the first round, it was a little bit shaky.
So
I didn't know what to expect, how it will work, and it will work or it will not. Now I feel like
a bit more ready
fine,
for the competition in Melbourne, yeah? Oh, good. See, this is my buddy, Grandmaster Ni Hua from China.
I would like to thanks to all the organizers and thanks for your invite. And also I want thanks for all the people who work for this tournament. This is my first time to Australia, and I'm very happy here. And I think this is my best scores in my chess life. I'm very enjoying here. And I hope I can come back soon. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks to everybody for all of the positive comments and feedback. My next video featuring the Australian Women's Masters will be posted soon. Thanks for watching.